Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Halloween. Today's tutorial will be doing a painting of a wood witch. So I went ahead and started with a base layer of mauve across the back. I mixed a little bit of black in with the mauve and a little bit of white just to mute the color so it's more of a gray purple. And I'm just going ahead and layering that out so it's darker at the bottom. As that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and paint in a little bit of her hair. Now, it's okay if the hair and the background blend together, but when we start doing the skin, we want to make sure that it's completely dry before we move on because we don't want sections to bleed into each other. So I've went ahead and I'm starting to layer different skin tones on. For this skin tone, I've mixed raw sienna, black, a little bit of purple, some blue, and a little bit of crimson. I'm looking for a very cool toned brown for her skin tone. So this photo is backlit by the moon, so the shadows will be quite dramatic. So as we're painting here, you're gonna see it get kind of muddy looking, and there's always that weird phase in the middle of a watercolor painting where it kind of looks bad, and I think this is where a lot of people try to give up at this phase. But the thing with watercolors is because you work in layers, there'll be weird sections in the middle of your process where it looks kind of muddy and gross before you start to define shapes. So don't worry, just keep layering. You really want to stick a painting out till the end. So places that you want to really focus on shadows are going to be under her nose, her chin, her neck, and around the eyes because the moon's slightly above and from behind, so it's going to create really dark cast shadows there. Another trick I like to do is you always want to mix a bit of a gray blue and shade the eye with that, because if we think about it, our eyes are circles, so circles would have the chiaroscuro effect of shadow, so you always want to put shading on the sides of the eyes or else it just doesn't look real. So you can see me now adding in a bunch of other details to her face, so I'm starting to get deeper with the shadows. For her lip color, I just took leftover skin tone and I mixed it with more purple and more crimson just to give a kind of cold lip tone. So I think something I notice a lot of new painters do is they're really scared of dark shadows. Like, they don't want to go too dark with the shadows, but I think if you want something that looks realistic or dramatic, you really need to pay attention to photo reference, pay attention to where the shadows are, to how deep those shadows are. It's not uncommon to have dark browns and dark purples and blacks in a picture of someone. So you want to go ahead and make sure you're paying attention. I added some smeared mascara just for fun since this is a Halloween themed tutorial. And I think the cool thing with this painting is I was just mixing in a lot of the same colors together. So I was mixing my purples and my browns and blacks so that the painting's very muted. So now I've let her skin dry in between these two phases, and I've went ahead and started the hair. So I know it doesn't look like it, but I did let it fully dry before I start painting the hair over top. Now she has black hair today, so this is a pretty easy thing to paint. Black hair doesn't usually catch as much light as lighter color hair would. It doesn't have highlights, so it's easier just to go ahead and paint in some sections. I am going ahead and adding highlights and shadows in certain areas, but you want to make sure that you're not going solid black over the whole section, okay? It will look unrealistic. So I'm going ahead with the other side and just adding in more black. I guess while I'm doing this, I could mention, with watercolors, a lot of my students, a lot of people who are doing it, they don't mix enough water in with the paint, and I know you want that dark, vibrant, full color, but with watercolors, it's really all about layering. You can't really go too opaque the first time. So I did a couple of layers for this hair, and the paint is a little thicker than usual, but if you're wanting to speed up that process, you can go ahead and use a gouache for those really, really dark shadows. So I've switched my brush out now to a detail brush, and I'm going ahead and just adding in those really fine hair strands around her face and through her hair. So I just painted the background solid, and now I'm adding the little details in with a number 1 brush. For detail brushes, you want to make sure that your brush is in really good condition and that it's not fuzzy or fraying at the ends, because that'll give you less control over the brush and you'll have more frayed looking lines. They won't be nice and smooth. So you want to make sure you have a nice, well taken care of detail brush I think these are the brushes I go through the most because they're so delicate and I use them so often. I feel like I'm always looking for brand new detail brushes. So just go ahead and you can kind of go crazy with this part and have fun. And she's a witch, so I figured it'd be okay that she had like super messy hair. And you can see that our shadows don't actually look so dark now that we've put that black hair on top. So I'm taking watercolor pencils. These are from Reeves. And I'm just going ahead, these are from Prismacolor. And I'm going ahead and adding in more shadow with just different shades of reds, browns, and blacks. So I'm adding in some little details that would be hard to get with the watercolor. And the cool thing about these is you can actually go over them after with water, and it activates the pencil crayon, and you can go ahead and blend out shadows. And that's a really cool thing about these watercolor pencil crayons. So if you're someone who likes to mix pencil crayon and watercolor, you might want to try these out.